All right. So, Ra, you want to do the technical debrief?
Yeah. Let me share the link. So there's the link to the latest technical update 146. And this is November 18th. Let me share my screen. I think you should be seeing my screen now.
Yes.
So in terms of releases, I spoke about 0925.7 last week. The 0925.7 is now running on all the nodes on testnet and on the mainnet observers, and will probably in a day or two also make it run on the mainnet validators. This is a bug fix release that has fixes for the occasional data corruption we were seeing in the LMDB database. So that's what is on the networks and what will be on the networks soon. The 0926 last finalized release, there has been substantial progress. Tomislav is almost done with it. He's got a PR he's working on that deals with transport layer cache management and transport layer and the kind of memory issues and all that sometimes we run into. So I think that is the last one that needs to be worked on. And we will start testing it on the testnet observers first and the testnet validators, the sequence, the regular sequence we go through for testing these things. And he's expecting to assuming everything goes according to the plan, he's expecting to make a presentation next week, next debrief of all the work that went into last finalized state, the lessons learned, and where we are now in terms of how that's working. So that would be a cause for celebration. At that point, this has been a release that the team has been working on long and hard for several months now. So I think that will be, that's close to completion. So I'm looking forward to it. The other stream of work that NutZipper and Will are engaged in right now is the block merge work, and that is also going very well. Will is working on the conflict resolution, and NutZipper has made quite a bit of progress on his end in terms of moving things forward as to how to merge things in a block. So we soon, I'm not sure if it's going to be next week or the week after, but soon we will have the merged version and we'll be able to make progress from there. So that's the block merge work. Primarily Tomislav, I guess, and others have been also completing a significant chunk of the dependencies. Some of these are kind of critical dependencies. Scala PB, protobufs, and recently there was a CATS update, there was a Monix update, and the NetE changes. Some of these are like intertwined kind of updates. So we are now done with all of those. So that's the other piece of work in what you would see if you do a release difference is a bunch of dependency updates that we were able to take the code base, be ready for next versions of Scala and all these libraries. And in addition, obviously, anytime you do these dependencies and updates, nice thing is that whatever bugs were being caused by these libraries, those libraries have worked on it, resolved them. So overall, it improves the stability of the system and the security of the system. So that's of the network. So that's kind of where we are with that. Another major branch of work, Joe Denman has started working on the Rolang version 1.1 spec. There's a link to that in here if you want to refresh your familiarity with that as to what that is. Primarily, Rolang 1.1 is expected to make the syntax easy to comprehend for developers coming from different languages that are widely popular right now. So that's one part of that. And in terms of the implementation, Joe has done a first refactoring of the existing interpreter, and that's in the development release at this point in time. He is looking at and working through the spec and clarifying the implementation decisions, making sure that we're going down the right path. His initial focus is going to be on implementing the send and receive changes, and following that, the let syntax and for comprehension parts of the spec. And having the for comprehension piece done then would allow us to do the sponsored content API piece that we talked about in the kind of SPV conversation separately. The approach to this, how we're going about this is a source-to-source translation. So all the new syntax would be converted into, or you can say reinterpreted into existing syntax. That's all that's going to be done in the first round. And then we will look at where optimizations are necessary or where it's not working out as well. And then we'll go through that a second round to implement and make the changes necessary. These changes are going to be in a separate feature branch because anything you change to Rolang obviously touches a good part of the system. So we're going to have it in a separate feature branch. And for testing, we might even run a separate network that is a Rolang 1.1 network. And what that should allow is for people that want to migrate their code from the current to Rolang 1.1, they would be able to test out their changes on the new network and see how that works. So to enable that as to what you need to do, there's probably some documentation work we need to do to help people understand, okay, if I have an existing code base, do I or do I not worry about these new changes, and how do I make those changes, and what might be the impacts from that sort of thing we need to document a little bit. The other piece, of course, is the existing IDE extensions or toolkits, whatever you want to call it, for like VS Code and IntelliJ. We need to refresh them with the new syntax. That's another task that needs to be done at some point. And all the changes to this Rolang stuff, much of it will probably go through the RChip and tech governance process. And there are some requests already in the RChip tech governance process for improvements to Rolang that came from the community as to what they would like. So we'll take consideration of that somewhere along the path towards the end of this, after the implementation of the new syntax is over. We'll see which of that already is accounted for and which of that needs to be looked into and implemented as either in whatever structure that makes sense within the Rolang thing. So that's mostly what I wanted to go over. And just to remind on the releases, so 0926, when it comes, is going to be the last finalized state, and then 0927 is the block merge release, hopefully. And then, but separately, there's a bunch of work going on about updating the, not going on right now, but will be going on in terms of the updating the POS contract. And then there's the Rolang 1.1 releases that will be coming in that feature branch. So that's roughly what the near-term roadmap looks like. I think that's all I wanted to say. Are there any questions or comments on any of this? All right. Thanks for your attention. And Greg, over to you.
Thank you very much, Rao. Yeah, it's very exciting, the progress. It's really, really quite impressive what's being done. I'm very, very happy. Daryl, are you ready to give the community in review?
Sure. Hey, everybody. So this is the Community Week in Review for Thursday, the 12th to today, the 18th. So last Thursday at the Governance Committee, attendees discussed developing the developer ecosystem. On Friday at the Communication and Coordination RCast, we talked about the record-breaking hurricane season and the decline of swamp ash for luthiers. Then we discussed aspects of directed acyclic graphs, DAGs, and how they apply to RChain's technology, as well as RChain's CBC Casper technology. On Monday, during the Casper stand-up, Greg looked at a reputation calculation called Esteem. Also on Monday, at the RDev member group co-op planning, the attendees discussed ways to introduce new users to the RChain platform and blockchain in general. On Tuesday, during the communications working group, CoinMarketCap is finally updated, and we discussed how we can add to that. We also discussed propagating the 2 Medium channels, adding graphics to posts. Ian pointed out that there are roughly 50 layer 1 blockchains and the need to message out the advantage we have there. We also discussed the potential for bringing in third-party PR tools, potentially bringing in experienced external crypto project PR professionals, and we also discussed onboarding our new intern. At 11 on Tuesday, the DApp Developer Working Group helped set up an RChain developer environment with Windows 10 and WSL2. And then this morning at the RChain Active Member Hangout, we discussed our PR issues overall with focus on messaging on our tech versus other layer 1 approaches. And we also discussed connecting with Tim Berners-Lee's attempts at the semantic web and his Solid project. And that's what we did all week. Back to you, Greg.
Thank you. Any questions for Daryl? All right. So the board has been discussing several scenarios which involve digital accreditation capability. And so I have put together some requirements for a very minimal digital accreditation wallet that could be built off of one or more of the existing wallets in a very short period of time. We are pursuing this because it's something that would be very natural for co-op members to have, built off of their governance rev address, or they can perhaps submit a new rev address for this. So I will go over those requirements now. We haven't had a kind of technical discussion in a long time, so I think it might be fun and worthwhile. We are looking at this for several other scenarios that have been in the air for quite some time. So let me now just quickly go over it. I guess Fiber is excited about this. So can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
All right. So the idea is very simple. Each wallet has a principal rev address, and the owner of the wallet is the party who has the private key associated with that rev address. Inside the wallet, there are key pairs. and they're all of the following form. So the key of the key pair is a rev address, and the value of the key pair is another pair, one component of which is a human-friendly name for the key, and the other component of which is some digital asset. It can be anything. It could be an ASCII file with a recipe for lasagna, as Ian was talking about yesterday, or it could be something significantly more interesting. There are many of these. There can be as many as you want, but there must be at least one, and that contains a rev address which is distinct from this rev address here. The human-friendly key is owner, and the digital asset is some ID verification asset that has legal bearing, in the sense that if we're tasked in the court of law to prove that identity verification had been done for the wallet, this asset would stand in that as evidence for that. Does this make sense? Is everyone following what I've said so far?
So these are all proofs that are being held by the wallet.
Yeah, they're all some kind of accreditation. Just so that we're clear, there's a little bit more functionality. So all of these key pairs, which are inside the wallet, are encrypted. And it's most convenient if they're encrypted using the key associated with the rev address, but it could be something different. It depends on how much burden you want the user to bear in terms of accessing these things. It could be, accessing them could be guarded by a PIN that's mixed together with the private address in order to access the encrypted data. In addition, some of the keys will be modifiable just by having the key to the principal rev address, but some of them require an additional key to modify, either to remove them from the collection, or to change the values in the value position. So you can think of it like a house. This is the key to the front door. Some rooms, like the living room, don't have any additional keys to get in, but other rooms, like the bedroom or the bathroom, have additional locks, and you might need an additional key to get in. So that's kind of the metaphor here. Now, I'm going to introduce a couple of new concepts. One is a link, and a link is simply a pair, a source rev address and a target rev address. You could decorate that with a claim string, saying exactly how the two are related. But the main point is just that it's a pair of rev addresses. So that's what a link is. While the link is a notion, it's a concrete notion in the sense that you actually have to pony up the pair. It's real data structure, not just an idea. And an attestation is any digital asset that has been signed. And while it might be signed with a rev key, it could be signed with any other signing technology, whether it's GPG or DocuSign. The digital asset has been signed. That way we can import other signing technology and make contact with exterior notions of digital authority, authorization, and privacy in this fashion. So the main point is that attestations show up in the value position of these key pairs. So now let's put one of these to use. If you recall, a wallet has a principal address and it has an owner address. Now these two addresses are not the same. However, we could form a link between the two. Let's say it's Alice's wallet and Alice's good friend Bobby. Bobby forms this link and signs it, attesting that in fact the person who owns the wallet is who they say they are. right? That the wallet address, the primary address really is owned by Alice. So that's one way that you could use an attestation, and that is interesting and important for social recovery of identity. So in particular, imagine that Alice has been hacked, and Boris now has the private key for the principal rev address. If one of the assets is a list of attestations that Alice is the proper owner of the wallet, that can be used in a social mechanism for recovering the wallet from Boris's control. This is just an example. There are lots of ways that you could do this, but that's one of the things that you might do with those kinds of digital assets. One might imagine using this for other kind of accreditations within the co-op. For example, co-op roles, like this really is the secretary for the co-op, or this really is the treasurer for the co-op, those kinds of things. So it easily can be have advantages for the co-op's business. However, it might be used in other real world examples. So one could imagine that getting tested for COVID results in a document that is multiply signed, right? So initially, the document is signed so Alice goes and gets tested, and Alice signs the proof of the test results, and then the testor signs that, so no one can reuse that test for themselves, because the outer test was signed by, whatever healthcare provider administered the test, and inside that is Alice's signature. So they're attesting that these are in fact Alice's test results. You could also do this with has been vaccinated. So that's another potential use for this. Obviously, there are potential uses. Imogen Heap considered a creative passport, so this can be used like that. There's some other fun things that you can do with this. Obviously, the design allows for nesting. So a digital asset here could be a wallet. So you can have hierarchical wallets like that. And then for extra credit, you can define an API that takes two wallets and adds them, takes one wallet and subtracts it from another wallet. So there are a bunch of fun things that you can do with wallets, because the API is, in fact, or the data structure is in fact compositional. But anyway, it's a very, very simple design, designed to get the job done with a minimum of fuss. So any questions about this?
I like the simplicity of it. It just seems like it can work.
Yeah. I mean, starting with a wallet like Tomislav's, it should be possible to make a prototype in about a day.
And so these the proofs or documents, they can all be stored on chain.
They can all be stored on chain. And in fact, that one of the nice things about the on-chain storage is, if Alice is indeed hacked and she does have some measure that allows her to recover any havoc that Boris has wreaked upon the unprotected assets, can be recovered, because all of the changes were on chain, so they can all be rolled back. Any other questions, comments?
DID normally stands for decentralized identifier, but here you're using it for decentralized identity.
Identity, yes. All right. If there are no other questions, I will make an advertisement. We have the one pager, the logo, the slide deck, and everything for the SPV, all ready to be looked over by the by the members, and they will be going out to potential investors or interested parties in just a few days. So if the membership wants to have a discussion, please join us on the Friday call, and we'll make sure that you have links to those documents. So I hope to see some interested parties on Friday at the closed door session. And with that, I think that's it, unless there are any other questions or comments from the community. Very good. Stay safe, folks. Looking forward to seeing you on Friday. Ciao, ciao.